Yo, 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 welcome to the ABC of CBD, and we are back live after a couple of weeks of reruns. For those of you who didn't know they were reruns, ta-da, they were reruns. I wasn't actually here. So yeah, welcome to the ABC of CBD live on Men's Radio. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit like. If you're watching on the Facebook page, click like. If you're watching on the Men's Radio station website, click follow. And if any of your friends haven't heard about our show, please tell them. Anyone looking to get an education about CBD, the cannabis world, or our general beautiful little community, which we all care about so much, this is our little window to the inside of our world, and it's a place for our voices to get shared. So if any of you ever want to come on the show and share your stories, this is an open platform for all of us. Russ is not here today, which is pretty sad. I haven't seen him in a few weeks, kind of miss him. I've got these incredible new producers who have stepped up to the plate to make the show happen today. So I just want to say thank you so much to them. If everyone give a round of applause to the people who are making this happen behind the scenes. Without them, it wouldn't happen. So we're episode 91. I'm not sure. Producers, do you have the advert ready to play? Is that possible? If not, I'll do a vocal one. Not sure. I'm going to carry on talking. If the advert comes in, I'll just carry on from that. So we're episode 91 of the ABC of CBD. We're actually sponsored by a brand called the Tincture Club. The Tincture Club is an affordable, low-cost CBD product, subscription-based service.
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD. A product created by users for users. A product at an affordable price, available everywhere, at any time, at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service. The cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
So I was really excited to be able to potentially spit that whole thing out, from memory, but didn't have didn't need to. So thank you very much, producers, for playing the episode. We've just paid the rent. So episode 91, the ABC of CBD. I cannot believe I've been here for 91 weeks in front of you. It really has been like some of the most fun I've had in this industry is communicating with the guests we've had on the show, and also getting to know a lot of our viewers and our audience. It's been really nice to connect with you. I actually got this incredible message from someone this week. Apparently, we've got a lot of followers in China, which I did not know. So I got a message saying, from one of your followers in China, you've got a great following out here. No idea how they found me, but I'm so glad that they found the show, and so glad that I can educate people on the other side of the world into the beauty of CBD and, the wonders of this cannabis market of ours. So like I was saying, episode 91, I've called this episode The Community Shows Its Hand. Now, there is a reason for this. A few weeks ago, there was an expo called Product Earth. I know that some of you remember we had Matthew Clifton on the show several weeks ago who talked about the event. We had Jamie Wood on the show who spoke about what he's going to be doing at the event. We had Christopher Tasker on the show who was speaking about what he was going to do at the event, all prior to Product Earth. I had an idea of what the show was going to be. I thought it was going to be a beautiful coming together of the community, like people from the industrial hemp side, people from the medical cannabis side, people from the CBD side, people from the equipment side, people from the genetic side, different growers. And I knew that there would be some people from the legacy side of the industry. Dude, what I saw at Product Earth has literally blown my mind. I mean, I just want to say, just a rite of passage. I think that's the best way of describing it. I mean, I really, really got to see the British cannabis industry show its hand, and it's blown me away. I mean, like for the last 3 weeks, when I think about Product Earth, all I do is get this stupid smile on my face. It's just been, it was an incredible event. I want to say well done to the entire team there, James, and well done, Matt, and well done everyone for putting on that show. It was absolutely sensational. You guys have done something special for our industry. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit more because doesn't really make sense. So, like, as a cannabis enthusiast, or a cannabis consumer, or just generally a stoner, there are places in the world where you want to visit in order to get a deeper understanding of the culture of cannabis and a deeper understanding of this culture, which we love so much. You have the Amsterdams, the historic coffee shop culture. You have Barcelona with the new private member club systems. You have Christiania in Copenhagen. With the hippie freedom and like that market where you can buy anything you want, any sort of cannabis product you want. You have Jamaica, the motherland. You have a lot of these places around the world, which are kind of like, rite of passage for our industry. You have this idea that I am a stoner, I'm affiliated with this culture, and there are places which you want to see. I remember the first time I went to Amsterdam, I was 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, end of GCSEs, went to Amsterdam with a group of 6 or 7 of my friends. I remember it was like literally 4 or 5 days after we finished our GCSEs, and it was a rite of passage. We went to the coffee shops and we embraced ourselves and immersed ourselves in the culture, and we got to consume cannabis legally for the first time in our lives. And we got to, really see that part of the world. I remember the first time I went to Spain, you have these private members clubs, and that like almost you sign up for this membership and the doors are open to this wonderful world where you can get everything you want. I'm not saying in England you can't get what you want, but it's a little bit more of an ordeal, a little bit more of a process. And generally whatever does happen here is usually, unfortunately, umbrellaed with that negative word illegal. And as soon as you have something which is umbrellaed with that negative word illegal, you deem it to be a little bit more uncomfortable. There's a certain comfort which one doesn't have, which is with any action which is affiliated with that word. And like in England, you can find whatever you want, like it's not hard to find cannabis-based products, but the openness, the acceptingness, the general, irrelevance of how like cannabis is seen as irrelevant in a lot of these countries. It's not deemed to be the negative stigmatized thing which it is in the UK. And I remember, like I said, my first trip to Spain, my first trip to a Spanish call it social club, a Spanish private members club, an association. And I remember the first time I walked in and I had that, once again, legal cannabis experience, a little bit more refined than the Amsterdam experience I had when I was 16 years old, a little bit more nurturing, definitely a lot safer in terms of the environment, being a private members club, like you get to kind of find an environment which suits you as opposed to, the drinking and the smoking together. I know that's changed a lot now, but in the past, that's what it was. And then but you have like these places, the Amsterdams, the Spains. I mentioned Christiania. Christiania is a small little community based in a park in Denmark. Now, for those of you who know about Christiania, it's the most open cannabis market, which is not legal, the most open illegal cannabis market in the world. But it's an experience. It's a stoner experience. It's a cannabis user's rite of passage. It's something which every cannabis user deserves to see, it deserves to experience. Why? Because it's something special. Going to stall in a market, looking at different people's cannabis crops and cannabis products, buying things is an experience. Then you have California. Now, California over the last 20 years has developed and, become an astronomical place. You have shops which are cooler and more expensive than the Apple store, which have got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of design going into the user experience. But once again, these are also a rite of passage. These are, something which people in the stoner community want to experience. They want to go and see what it's like to buy weed from Apple. Do you know what I mean? That's what you want to see. You want to see how it is to buy weed from someone who sets themselves up like a lawyer. Do you know what I mean? It's that certain professionalized experience. Once again, a rite of passage. Colorado is very similar, a little bit more, I think, relaxed, a little bit even more relaxed to California. But once again, it's another one of these rites of passage. You go skiing in the mountains in Colorado, find one of these mountain huts, which is also a dispensary, go in there, enjoy the culture, enjoy the fact that you're somewhere which embraces cannabis as a wonderful thing, and you feel like you're around people who are like-minded. This is all the part of this rite of passage of cannabis consumption. I feel like Product Earth needs to be added to that list. It sounds really strange. I know it's an expo. It's not a city, and it's not, a 24-hour day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year thing. But what I saw at Product Earth this year, I've never seen in the UK before. And the energy of Product Earth was one of the nicest energies of any cannabis conference I've ever gone to. I mean, nothing bad happened. There wasn't a voice that was raised. There was sorries every time someone bumped into anyone. There was help and love and share and kind and wonderfulness in every capacity across the entire festival. Everything from what's it called, the speaking events, the fireside chats, the actual conference itself, where we had some fantastic speakers. Dr. Callie Seaman was amazing. We've had Rhea Green on the show before. She was amazing during the Women of Weed talk. Christopher Tasker, who will be on at the end of this show, he led some fantastic talks at the show as well, running a lot of education. It was just there are certain things which you see at other cannabis expos. So, this education, dissemination of education, dissemination of information from thought leaders to individuals in our community. That's something we saw, something we see on a regular. Growing equipment, hydro equipment, seeds, it's all stuff we see on a regular. What Product Earth had this year, which I've never seen before, was an open cannabis culture. I mean, I saw 65, 70, 80, 90 stalls just selling cannabis-based products. And it was pretty amazing. It was kind of wonderful to see our world open up. Now, it was the way it was presented and advertised. Matthew Clifton put on an amazing show. Over the 3 days I was there, I didn't see any problems. I only saw solutions. I only saw caring. I only saw love. And it was quite wonderful watching what I like to call the legacy, the legacy part of our industry. A lot of people will call it the illegal side of our industry, but I like to call it the legacy part of our industry, the people who have been there for a long time, the grassroots of our industry. It was really nice watching them interact with new individuals, because that's the main thing I saw from the room. You had a lot of very educated, grassrooted cannabis experts communicating and interacting with people who wanted to learn about the environment. And I saw, people in wheelchairs going from the medical cannabis section, speaking to people like Tim Henley and Chris Tasker, who will be coming on the show very soon today, talking to them, and then going for a wander around outside and using the education which they've just got, using that little bit of understanding that they've just got to go and try and navigate this world of cannabis. And it was quite wonderful to actually see this happen, because you get to see how people actually put education into practice. And I saw this old man in a wheelchair, and I saw a wonderful conversation happening with him. I can't remember who was doing it, but someone literally filled him with the right information. And I watched this dude over the next couple of days, wandering around, actually finding what he needed. And the first time I heard him speak, it was like listening to a child speak. He didn't understand. And by the end of the weekend, I walked past him again, and he's holding a conversation, and he's actually, I feel like he's starting to understand what type of cannabis medication he needs for himself. Now, I know we live in the UK, you have this new medical cannabis system, and there are doctors and there are advisors, but in reality, those doctors and those advisors are more new and more uneducated, you could call it, in the world of cannabis than the patients who are seeing them. The new patients theoretically know more than the new doctors. The new patients are more likely to look online. The new patients are more likely to try and create an education based on based on the culture around them, based on the legacy education which is coming up from them, whereas doctors are kind of getting a top-down educational approach, which means they're learning from different places. And it was quite nice to see people strengthening themselves with knowledge in order to understand how cannabis can best benefit them. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of illegal activity going on in the room. You never salute that. You can't do that. But in reality, it's the other side of it. It's like if the negative if negative illegal activity wasn't happening, then the conversations wouldn't have been had. And if the conversations wouldn't have been had, then the education wouldn't have been shared. If the education wouldn't have been shared, then that one individual who I saw over the course of the weekend wouldn't be able to navigate his health through this path. And it's kind of like, breaking a rule in order to save a soul. I kind of liked it, because what it did, it made the cannabis conversation in terms of high THC cannabis, it made it very open. Like people were very open with the way they were speaking. There was a narrative of education from every single store. And I saw a lot of these sellers kind of saying, look, this is not for you. All right, this is not for you because this is very strong. What you need is something more mild. Have you thought about trying balms? Have you thought about trying other products? I'm not saying everyone in the room was doing this, but I definitely saw some form of narrative which is helping the, you could call it, the new individuals entering this space to navigate it. Now, back onto the other thing. This industry, it really is an industry of the brave. All right, that's one more thing. The braveness that I saw in that room, the brazenness that I saw in that room, it's incredible. Like I've just described Product Earth as absolutely mental. I don't really know how else to describe it, because, to be able to walk into a conference center in Birmingham and be able to buy any type of cannabis product that you can imagine, and there were probably 65,000 strains of cannabis available there, just blew my mind a little bit because it was England. Now, the police knew what was going on, all right? There was no way in hell that the police were either not informed or they didn't know. 1,000,000% the police knew. Like the conference center where this happened, there were other things going on, and you could smell what was happening there from a mile away. So there was obviously police awareness, and security was brought to the event by the organizers, which was fantastic. There were sniffer dogs and there was all that stuff. What I don't understand is how it happened. I just don't get it. And I tried to get one of the organizers to come on the show today. I'll bring him on in a few weeks' time. We'll have this conversation properly. I don't understand how they've managed to do it. But it has made me realize that the community has showed its hand, and the community has showed exactly what it wants and exactly what it can do. It can create this educational bubble where cannabis is recreationalized and patients do get a high quality service and a high quality product. I mean, there is definitely something there. And I was expecting, when I walked into the room, I was expecting to see problems, because in that sort of situation, you expect to see problems. Maybe someone might get robbed. Maybe there might be an argument. Maybe there might be some disdain between buyers and sellers. There's always a chance of, you go to Costa and there's an argument. You go into Starbucks and someone gets the wrong coffee, there's a fight. That's just what happens. And there was no arguments. There was no voices raised. Like I said, you bumped into someone and there was an automatic sorry. And it created this idea that maybe our community does deserve like a recreational license. Maybe our society does need decriminalization. Maybe that's the way to go. I've always been very pro medicalization, because in my eyes, that's how you create a safe environment for the end consumer. But I had my eyes changed a little bit last week. I had this idea that, medical is that way forward. It's a structure which gives the uneducated education. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe a grassroots approach, maybe a decriminalized approach might also be possible, might also have the legs to create stability in this economy. And it's a very interesting thought, because it's not really something I've ever experienced before. I've never seen the British cannabis, economy. I've never seen the British cannabis culture in that sort of light, a light where things could kick off, but nothing did. And in a light where problems could happen, but nothing happened. And it's just made me think that maybe there's something a little bit more, maybe there's something which we do right in the UK. Maybe there is something that grassroots people have kind of brought to the table. Someone who operates and has operated on the legal side of this industry, someone who's run a CBD company, started it, run it, built it, sold it, someone who's tried to always focus on the legal side of this market. I've always had don't want to say a chip, but I've had this opinion because it's where I've been standing. But maybe I'm not wrong, because wrong's not the right word, but maybe I was misled as to the quality and the actual service which could theoretically be offered by grassroots options. And maybe England is educated enough. Maybe people do actually care enough to provide the end consumer with products that they actually want and need. Because I'm not saying it's perfect yet. It's not perfect. But when you feel an energy in a room, it's something special. And energy is something you can really connect with. And when you feel an energy in the room and there's something there's something relatively pure about it and clean and kind, it just makes you believe more in that energy. And even some of you could call it people who you would assume might be more on the darker side of the industry were like the loveliest people, and they actually cared. And I saw a lot of care and compassion. I think that's the main word. I never realized that the recreational market in the UK was so compassionate. But now, you know what? I've done my 20-minute introduction. I've got a couple of guests I need to bring on today. I think Tim Henley's waiting in the waiting room. If it's possible to bring him out. That doable? Yes, Tim. Hey,
How you
Ollie.
doing? That's
How you
good.
doing? Sorry for my little
Very well,
rant. I
thanks.
just kind of wanted to get that out. What was your view of Product Earth?
I really enjoy it. It's probably the 4th time I've been.
It's different. It's different though. I've been there. I've been there 3 times as well. This year was different.
This time it was, as you were saying, where the industry kinds of meets the community and moves things forward. So I think that there is, and that's because the legal industry is starting to move forward and gain traction. And I think that now it's kind of coming back to the people. Cannabis has always been people powered. The very reason there is a legal cannabis industry is because of people refusing to accept draconian laws that were put in place to say you can't use this, and they said no, it gives me benefit, I'm going to use it. So all
Because
respect,
of the mothers and their children, right? That was the main reason. You know, the Hannah Deacons and the Charlotte Caldwells, and those are the people who, you know, did you could call it the illegal deeds, and then what's it called? And then media focused on why they have to do that. Why do I have to be a criminal to save my child's life? And they're the ones who started that. So you're right. It really has been. It started off as a people-focused industry, and then feel like over the last 5 years, it kind of drifted a little bit away from the people. Do you agree or disagree with that, Tim?
I agree entirely. I think that effectively the way that things are moving forward is that the industrialization of cannabis, the economic development of it is going to go several different ways simultaneously. But coming back to what you were saying, if you go back to the original place where it all really started, California, that was when people had AIDS and they were demanding that they had cannabis because it helped them when there were no treatments for AIDS. People were dying, and the only thing that would help them manage the process was cannabis, and that's why California legalized. We're talking back in 1993.
Oh yeah, 94. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a long time that this has been developing. Now the Californian industry, if you look at that is gone one route where taxation has been at the very kind of highest levels, and there's still a kind of underworld element that
and the
moves
quality has gone so down on that high tax level. The quality is just diminished. The price of cannabis has dropped. The quality of cannabis has dropped. Supply of quality cannabinoid products has dropped. And the disparity in the marketplace. You've got very, very expensive products and cheap products and nothing in the middle in America. And you've got the brands and the big money organizations which have forced cannabis prices up. Generic cannabis stock has gone down, and it's created this giant disparity. And I feel like that's a big issue. I got a quick question for you. So you remember Product Earth last year, right? Mm-hmm. There were a lot of genetic sellers. There were a lot of packaging sellers, a lot more CBD companies last year. And I want to say a lot more of that hemp clothing and a lot more of the hippies. All right. This year was another level. I mean, do you understand what I mean when I said it's
absolutely?
It's like Amsterdam when I was 16 years old, Spain 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or like Christiania. It was just, I mean, did you have what I had where you walked around and you always had to rub your eyes and be like, is it really? So I went up to someone. This is the first day. Walked in, said hello to Daryl from Orange County, stall opposite Daryl, and I looked at him and I was like, Daryl, if you know anyone selling weed here, by the way, just let me know because I didn't bring anything. And just in case you know anyone selling weed here, let me know. And he was like, I'm sure you'll find. First person I spoke to was Friday morning. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. Everyone had just set up. And Daryl's like, go and ask him. I'm sure he's got a couple. I was like, all right. So when I asked this dude, and I was like, I see you got a whole bunch of CBD flour and you got some CBD edibles. Any chance you got a couple of grams? And he was like, none of it CBD. And I was like, sorry, what? And he's like, none of it CBD. And I was like, wait, so what is it? He's like, it's all THC. I was like, obviously not, mate. Come on, you're not going to do that. It's mental. No, it's all THC. I'm like, all right, hold on for 1 second. And I did the rub on my eyes again, looked around the room and realized exactly where I was. And it was like, oh my God. And there was a little moment where it took, because my nose was going crazy. But I mean, like some of the things we do with terpenes and stuff like that, you don't know what I just thought my nose is picking up on something.
Yeah.
when you actually looked around that room, were you not just blown away? I mean, like completely blown away, just at the blasé. No one cared. No, there was no fear in that room whatsoever. I can't say it without smiling because it was just so blasé. The whole thing was so like, I'm sure you had a lovely walk around, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a safe space. The whole thing has turned into a safe space as far as I can see. And what was interesting for me was that there were then cannabis clinics that had been there. They'd replaced some of those companies that you'd spoken about that had left. And it was interesting because that's where I was in the medical zone. And those cannabis clinics were actually engaging with people because so many people actually use cannabis for medical reasons, and they might not even think about getting a prescription. They might just carry on doing their thing, but then you don't get the protection of the law. Whereas when you're a registered patient, you get the protection of the law. So it's got real advantages moving forward. And it was very interesting to see the number of people that were coming there, starting to talk. And there was actually a prescribing consultant there, a doctor who can prescribe cannabis. Obviously, they couldn't do it on site, but he could answer all of those questions. And it was
Which
really
doctor?
interesting. Dr. Sunny Nahay.
I met him, or I listened to his talk. He spoke. He was
nuclear
on
weed.
but he was on he did the medical cannabis talk, right? He was there with Nadler and a few of the other ones, and the talk which Christopher Tasker led. Christopher Tasker will be on in about 15 minutes. We could talk about that with him, but I kind of liked him as well. I actually want to get that doctor on the show because it's the first doctor who I want to say he's got a little bit of, like cannabis cheekiness. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got a bit of cheekiness, which means that when he talks, you really do feel like you're talking to another human being. You're not talking to a robot who's been processed to answer your questions the way you want to hear the answers, because a lot of these doctors do not want to prescribe you cannabis. They're doing it because they know it's right, but deep down in their heart and soul, they still don't believe in it. And it was quite lovely meeting this doctor because he really did. He puts his heart and soul into it, and he really does care.
Oh, absolutely. I've worked with Sunny for over 2 years now, and he's if you whatever doctor you kind of have, you'd want Sunny because his bedside manner is just amazing.
Exactly.
And he's actually the doctor who first prescribed me medical cannabis.
That's amazing.
And he's a pain specialist, and there are psychiatrists as well that are equally as engaged as Sunny is. There is this new generation of kind of consultants and clinicians that are actually really starting to understand the power of cannabis used in the right way and the benefits it can bring to people because they see it in everyday. That's why we were there. The reason I was there, that behind me is a guy called Professor Lumiere, and we were there because we're doing a documentary that will end up on Netflix about cannabis and about the way that it interacts with people and the benefits they derive from it and the science behind it.
You're very good with people though, Tim. I saw you a few times when I walked. No, because you do it as well. I tell you what it is like you've got a fantastic way of making cannabis very understandable.
Thank you.
You've got this fantastic way of making, I say, like, because I'm sure you saw them as well. Like there were a lot of people who walked around that room, I think, who were walking around for an education. And I saw you having these conversations with a few people who were a bit, I don't use the word novices, but they were definitely new to the industry. And it's quite lovely that they also found their way to you through Product Earth. Do you know what I mean? I think it's quite nice. It's not just an expo for those who are. It's an expo for those who want to be as well. And I kind of like that. I think it was quite special. But like I said, I walked past your stall a couple of times and I heard this dissemination of information. I heard you, nurturing these lost souls. I think that's the best way of saying it. And I think it's quite a wonderful, I think it was quite a wonderful little corner you guys had, because you had your little corner where you were educating. You had the education conference center directly in front of you, which means that the people who really made their way to that part of the room were really the people who wanted to learn. On the other side of the room, you had what I like to call the artsy side, where you had the glass blowing and all of the noise and all of the, like the over-the-top cannabis excitement. Do you know what I mean? That was all on the other side of the room. And then outside, you had the skate area and all that. But they separated it very well, because what it did was it meant that when you were having a conversation, they could actually hear you. And when they were talking back to you, you could actually hear them. And it was quite, I think the organizers of the event definitely thought through the user experience.
Oh, they've changed the layout several times. And I think this one really worked. And it, as you rightly said, the fact that the medical zone was in that space right next to the seminar zone where all the talks were was really useful. And it was a quieter space. As you rightly said, over on the other side, there's all the hullabaloo. But then the thing with Product Earth is that you've got that daytime event and then you've got the after dark where the kind of partying starts, and it is this blend of really interesting dynamics. And then I've never been to anything like it, and Spanibus is not quite like it. It's so different to all of the other places,
right? It really is. And that, so this is why I wanted other people on today, because it's very easy for me to come on and, you know, give that narrative and speak from my heart and everyone just to believe me. But in reality, because it doesn't happen every week, and because it's like, you know, it was a rare event. Okay, it's not, like I said, it's something I've never experienced in the UK before, where there was literally just a cannabis marketplace. I mean, that's the only way I could describe it, is 65, 70 sellers blended in around others, just selling cannabis-based products, illegal cannabis-based products, but sold very, very transparently, beautifully branded, very well explained, understanding of their genetics, understanding of their crops. I mean, Tim, I saw you sitting a lot. Did you have a chance to walk around during the day?
Oh yeah. I went around several different times because at different times of the day you saw different things, and there's a real diversity of. But like you, I was surprised that there wasn't more of the hemp sellers, because to me, Product Earth is that all-encompassing cannabis community, from the recreational side, the medical side, all the way through from seeds, obviously for display purposes only, through to what I would have assumed would have been hemp-based products.
Like hemp bricks, hemp this, hemp that, you know, like hemp farming information. That's one thing which I thought, except for the fact that Jamie Bartley gave a couple of talks and there were a few like hemp experts walking around the room and involved in panels, I did feel like that the energy behind the benefits of hemp were not pushed so much in the room. And there were a few videos which actually said that, about how, you know, hemp as a tool is so much more valuable for our world than just a medicine. You know, like, it's great as a medicine, but I mean, it's carbon sequestering. You can make plastics and bricks and metals from it. It's a viable replacement for batteries. It's a viable replacement for so many things which cause detriment in our lives. Biofuels, etc., are a viable replacement for fossil fuels. There is so many applications of the hemp plant. And I do feel like that was maybe one segment which has had more energy pushed at it in previous years. I do feel like potentially the culture of the culture of Spanibus is more suited to that, because it's bigger. Do you know what I mean? I think because Product Earth is still quite small, it will grow over time, but because it's still quite small, and it had COVID last year, which I think hurt everyone. Do you know what I mean? They had a couple of years of COVID, which hurt them. I really do believe that is necessary and missing, and our industry needs to focus on that in order to kind of take us up to the next level. It can't just focus on the recreational side, or you could call it the recreational commercial side. It can't just focus on that part of the marketplace, because it is missing, you know, like it misses a trick, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm literally writing an article for the Extract on this, that basically the whole kind of cannabis economy, if you treat it as one, you get the benefits, and politicians need to kind of understand that cannabis across the board has so much potential. Then you've got these individual sections, and each one of those is kind of a silo in itself. And very often the people inside of, let's call it recreational, let's call it medical, they don't kind of put their head above their silos and have a look and see what else is going on around them. And for me, that's not the best way forward.
It's a big problem.
Absolutely,
it's a big problem.
And I think that we can work together, and this is where Product Earth can really come and be at the forefront of this change. And Matt and the team do an amazing job every year. And I think that actually that can become a center of excellence that
They did
showcases.
bring art and culture more into it this year. So they brought like with the art gallery, and the glass blowing was a lot bigger, and the whole that gallery glass side was a lot bigger. But I do feel like that there was a focus on I would say not too much of a focus, but a focus on recreational, which therefore does draw attention away from other areas of this industry. One thing we have to bear in mind is over the last year and a half, the energy around the CBD market in general has dropped off, and the focus has really been towards the medical cannabis space. Also, potential decriminalization, recrealization, because Italy's just decriminalized, Germany's about to decriminalize, France is about to decriminalize, and that's the word of the moment: decriminalization. Can we decriminalize cannabis? Is there a way of legalizing cannabis? And that's the narrative of the moment.
It is, and to me, decriminalization is just a stepping stone to regulation, because regulation is the key aspect of this. And one of the and again, this is one of those areas that is in my silo, medical cannabis. What's the difference between irradiated and non-irradiated cannabis? Is there a real factor here? And actually, this comes down to safety. Now, if you can get, and there's a whole kind of within side of the European Pharmacopoeia, which is a standard that medical cannabis goes, there's all about the colonies of bacteria that can grow and the levels that are consistent. Then you have to irradiate to bring those colony levels down, because they create microtoxins, which is bad for you. And people growing at home or buying it from somebody, they've never got any of that data. And that, for me, is one of the advantages of a regulated industry. So decriminalization is great, but actually the benefits that derive from a cannabis economy come when we have proper regulation, proper companies. Grow your own. You can brew your own beer, grow your own. You can in Spain, you can in so many European countries now. The fact is, for me, that the actual economic benefit, and the cannabis economy is an economic benefit. All you've got to do is look at Colorado and Canada, and you see the levels of expenditure they can do now because of the tax raised, and the advantages they have. That everybody says, oh, if you regulate it, then underage use will increase. Well, no, exactly the opposite happens. It decreases. And these are the elements that really drive this forward. So for me, decriminalization is great, but actually regulation delivers a full range of benefits.
It also strengthens the economy, which is another thing, unfortunately, if you just legalize something, there's no structure around it. There's no way of that ever growing and progressing. This regulation enables us to have a future. This regulation enables us to have more than just our bedrooms to grow in. If you want to take this industry to the next level, regulation can theoretically help us get there. I do think, though, after what we've just seen at Product Earth, maybe it should be put back in the hands of the people, or maybe companies should be looking at people, because like what the people put on as a show, I mean, it was a great fucking show. It really was a great show, and it was a great service. It really was. As in, I'm the first person to criticize and be like, that was scummy as hell. It really wasn't. I wish it was, and then I can hold my hand up and be like, you know what, it was terrible. It really wasn't. It was so good, and it's kind of pissed me off a little bit. I kind of wanted them to fuck it up, but they didn't. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of made me think maybe someone needs to start paying attention to the people a little bit more.
But then, for me, I agree that it actually needs to come back to the people.
People need to be empowered. I'm not saying businesses shouldn't get their paws in, but they should get their paws on these people. As in, like, I met some incredible growers, some incredible sellers, and people who actually care about the end consumer. Like, I heard so many people say the word "no." You shouldn't buy that, mate. I think that will kill you. All right, I heard that 3 or 4. Listen, dude, do you smoke a lot? No, don't buy that. You're gonna die. And that was quite nice. It was quite lovely. I was like, kind of like, all right, I don't think a doctor would say that, because I don't think a doctor would know. I don't think a doctor would have that crop loyalty to understand exactly what their stock is.
Oh, I think some doctors, I definitely think some doctors do. And they're the leading edge. They're educating the people following on from behind them. So, but this is all a kind of thing. And obviously, the legislation for me ends up with dispensaries on the high street, re-empowering the high street, And those are where you can actually derive maximum economic benefit. Now, the supply chain into those, where is it grown? Where's it come from? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're kind of making it an exclusively big business kind of environment. It means that you've just got to make sure that the products that are being sold are safe and that they are regulated, so that there is at least a standard that we all agree on, that everybody kind of adheres to. Because you can buy cannabis that's got plant growth hormones in it. Now, none of those have been tested. Who knows what they do when you vaporize or smoke them? In actual fact, they cause cancer. So the actual growing elements of cannabis, you end up with a bud. You've no idea of where it started out in the seed and how it ended up to the bud. There's a whole kind of process that goes through there, and there's some dodgy growing practices that will make it even better, denser buds that actually have possibilities of creating damage to you.
I just found out something. I just got a message from our next guest. Apparently, the Queen's just passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew
Apparently,
that she was
got a message from Christopher Tasker. Is Christopher Tasker in the room? Leave Tim on. Leave Tim here. Let's bring Chris on. Is Chris there? Yeah, bring Chris on.
Oh, yeah. So she has.
Gosh, hi, guys.
When did you find this out?
Well, we were just literally watching the news just there, and unfortunately, yeah.
Well, everyone, by the way, this is Christopher Tasker. Chris, you know Tim. Tim, you know Chris. You guys were next door to each other at Product Earth, so it's almost like brought you back home. Do you know what I mean? Brought you back to the jungle. Queen's just died.
Yeah.
That's sad. I don't know why I'm smiling.
Incredibly sad, yeah. It's a big shock, you know. She passed away...
She's 96. I mean,
when? Today or like weeks ago?
Just 2 minutes ago, it's been announced.
I didn't realize she was sick. Well, first of all, long live the Queen. You know, like God rest her soul. I don't really know what to say right now. I'm usually really bad in times of death. Can someone please help me?
I'm a Republican, so I'm not going to help you. Sorry.
Well, anyway, listen. I'm sorry. Like she reigned us well. You know, like I wish her family wonderful. I suppose I wish her family condolences. I hope that they find comfort in this horrible time. It's terrible news, and you know, as our nation mourns and grieves her, I just want you. I want you all to take should we do this? Let's all just take a moment. Let's just all take a moment to think about the Queen. Big news. I never thought. I'm not really a royal, but I still like her. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a strange one. So we'll take a moment to think about the Queen, to send our best wishes to her family.
Yeah, sorry for dumping that.
That's okay. I just saw your message and I was like, I can't not repeat that. So, Chris, how was your experience of Product Earth? Right, we've got 18 minutes left. I mean, like I've got to. I know this is going to go down in history as one of the worst shows of all time. You're not allowed to react this way when you get bad news, but generally, what was your experience of Product Earth? How did you find it? Have I really offended her that much with my discussion?
No, not at all. I'm a bit shocked. It's a massive international milestone landmark event now, and I guess almost by extension, I was going to come on and talk about how beautiful the community was at Product Earth and how what a great representation it was of the British public. But then also, I guess by extension, I guess that's all of the Queen's reign and some of the Queen's influence too, I suppose, at a very macro level. To be honest, Ollie, I'm a bit lost for words, and I don't know if maybe Tim wants to continue on, but I'm just...
fair play. That's completely fair, Chris. Chris, if you want to go, God bless you for joining us. I'll get you on in a few weeks. We'll deal with it then, okay?
We'll resume. No. We'll talk in a little bit, guys, but no.
Take care, buddy.
Take well, guys. Yeah.
Bye. This is definitely a strange show. I'm just throwing it out there. Never been thrown like this. Never been thrown like this. So, Tim, talk to me. What was your favorite experience of Product Earth?
I really enjoy the After Dark. The whole kind of vibe there is really collaborative, very entertaining. The music's fantastic. There are a couple of really good bands on.
Were you camping this year?
I camped on the Saturday night. I stayed in a hotel on the Friday night and camped on the Saturday night to kind of make sure that I enjoyed the Saturday night very well. And I did.
nice.
And it is really good. It's campfires. It's everything you want from a kind of event like that.
So I did the after dark. I did it both nights. I actually drove. What's it called? Like I stayed in a hotel both nights. I only got to Only got to have a temporary experience of it. But I really enjoyed it. The fireside chats were amazing. What I did find as well, which is both nights, I was there by myself. So I went up there for like a little wander by myself. I didn't really make plans to be with anyone. I knew that there's loads of people in the community. Like I came and spent some time with you, Tim. I spent some time with Jamie Bartley, spent a little bit of time with Christopher Tasker. I was like on Saturday, I was walking around with my friend Lewis, but Lewis ended up leaving on Saturday night. And we ended up, I ran into my friend Jade there as well, Hempress, who we're actually going to get on the show in a few weeks' time. She's incredible. She's actually she's an awesome brand owner and advocate in the UK of CBD products and cannabis products. She's a great soul, so I'm going to get her on. But it was really nice to like bump into people like that. I saw Tanine and I saw Zia, spend a little bit of time with them, which was lovely. So like I took it as a social. So I'm going to go up there with no one and just go and like, hop and go and see. And the day was fun because, there's so much to distract yourself in that room. And you can go from, I walked around that room 5 times. Every time I walked around it, it's honestly like it was a brand new room. I don't know if I smoked myself into a point where it kind of looked completely different or if literally it was just a brand new room. I don't really know. But anyway, we were wandering around, met a lot of really cool people. And I did find it very easy to meet people. So there was one moment on Friday night where I just got some food and I was looking around. There was no one I recognized. So I was like, I'm just going to sit with some strangers. And I literally sat with some strangers and befriended them, smoked a couple of joints with them, chatted about life. They were younger. They were like 25-year-old kids. And one of them used the word, which I've used several times today, which is, this is literally a rite of passage. Because I was like, what brings you guys to Product Earth? Because that was one of my go-to questions. I was going there to try and understand what the culture was thinking. And I was like, A, what do you boys do? And B, what brings you to Product Earth? And all right, a couple of plumbers, couple of engineers. I met this one dude who's a British gas engineer who has built a grow operation in his loft. Okay. And he is an engineer. So he's engineered this thing to be completely self-sustaining. And because he's he has all the pipings and everything to make it all happen, he's built this incredible system of showing me videos on his phone. And his wife is like, I told him he should start designing medical cannabis facilities, but he won't do it because he's a British gas engineer. He doesn't want to lose his job. But at the end of the day, you meet the most interesting dude, like 65 years old, they've been growing for 35 years, like crazy people. And you meet a lot of really cool people. So I met these kids, they're like 24 to 25 years old, maybe a little bit younger. And I was like, why are you guys here? They go, it's once a year and it's a rite of passage. And I was like, what do you mean? They go, Amsterdam, Spain, you do that all when you're younger. You do it all. This is a rite of passage. This is what we have in England. This is our cannabis community coming together. I was like, what? So you boys must do like Hyde Park, for 420. And they said, I've never done Hyde Park for 420. And they used a very specific. They said the word, I'm not an asshole. And I was like, what do you mean? They go, I'm not an asshole. I'm not going to a park to provoke police. But this cultural gathering is actually a rite of passage. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, look, there are no police anywhere. We're completely free. No one wants to start trouble with anyone. No one wants to aggravate anyone. No one's trying to get under anyone's skin. It's just a whole bunch of there's kids saying this, a whole bunch of like-minded people getting together, celebrating something they love so much. And it I was like, you profound little bastard. It was so wonderful because like kids usually, I remember when I was 25, I took everything for granted, but they realize exactly where they are. And it's a little bit, I was saying to people, like, the only thing I can imagine, it's like Glastonbury. Like, that's just, it was like literally like, not like the music, like not like the actual festival. It wasn't that size, but it's that energy of just, you're free. You're free to do whatever you want. In the same way in Glastonbury, there's no police off the rail track. All right, unless you're on the runway, no police anywhere else, which means you are completely free to be and do and feel however you want to feel. The same thing. And the freedom to talk and the freedom to discuss and the freedom to be educated or educate, the freedom to share. It was so lovely. And it's something which I really do suggest to many, many cannabis users out there, especially if you're from the UK and you ever want to see our little gem and you want to see our little beautiful cannabis culture in its prime, most beautiful condition, go to Product Earth.
I agree.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
very
And I
expensive.
think,
Do you mind staying on for an extra 10 minutes, Tim? We haven't
no,
taken up
not
too
at
much of
all.
your night. I appreciate it.
No,
by the way.
no. I mean, for me, the most interesting thing is actually that this is where and this is what I've written, that basically this is where the industry can actually meet the real kind of consumers, that people power that's driven it forward, and talk to them, and kind of, unless you're a corporate kind of complete idiot, and you have to recognize where you've come from. This whole thing is a kind of timeline that goes back hundreds of years, and you have to understand that where we are today has been built on the shoulders of those people who stood
The
firm and said,
legacy.
absolutely. And that is the important aspect of this. Now, a lot of people from the legacy kind of say, well, hold on, medical cannabis, etc., etc. But that's, to me, that is using the system. You are getting the protection of the law. If you can qualify with a medical condition, and very many people can, then why not get the protection of the law? The more people that get the protection of the law, the more authority takes notice, and the more authority will start to say, well, hold on, the sky's not falling in, things are moving forward. Exactly the same in Canada. This is the way it went. I mean, they started in 2000. They had medical cannabis in 2000
Where?
in Canada.
Yeah,
So,
in Canada and in California as well, they had medical cannabis in 2000.
so there's a long history. So this
in
whole idea,
in Israel, they had medical cannabis in the year 2000. So it's
So-
been around for a while. So it's nothing
Absolutely.
new. But one thing I did see. So this is it. So you actually just triggered
Mhm.
something. I don't know. I think you actually just, there was a moment in the after dark. I met someone, and actually met someone who I know. I'm not actually going to mention any names because I don't want to tell everyone what sort of business he's doing. It's not fair. But I met a buddy, someone who I know, someone we've had on the show before. Quite a big, smart brain, not so established, but very big brain. And he introduced me to someone he's working with. And the conversation, and it threw me a little bit because I've never seen him in our community. He's more of an externalite. Okay, so he's someone who's usually been around the outside. I've never seen him on the inside. And I see him and I'm like, what are you doing here? He was like, I'm here with my with my new partner. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're doing a medical cannabis play. And I was like, amazing. Where are you guys doing it? They're doing it in I don't know if he said Barbados or Jamaica or St. Kitts or one of these. He's doing it in that part of the world, one of the islands. And the interesting thing is the partner. So one of them is a medical professional, and one of them is a grassroots grower. And the medical professional is working with the grassroots grower. They have an investor as well in order to take grassroots grower to make his crop a medicinal crop, to bring it and be able to import and export it. And it's starting. Do you know what I mean? It's starting when you have these cannabis experts are actually partnering with other cannabis experts, as opposed to cannabis investors partnering with botanists. Because a botanist is not a cannabis expert. A botanist doesn't understand genetics. And even if they can crossbreed better than anyone else ever, I mean, they're like saying the best chef needs to know how to cook before he can cook. You know what I mean? You can't become a pastry chef because you make a great roast beef. Do you know what I mean? It's a different science. It's a different tech. And there's a lot of this ignoring knowledge in the space. Callie Seaman spoken about it on the show. Rhea Green spoke about it on the show. A lot of the activists and advocates have spoken about on the show about how, brains are being forgotten. People who have a lot of information are being left behind. And I did see 2 or 3 interactions between investors and, you could call it, experts, and where the investor is backing the expert and the expert is being backed by the investor to build something better and bigger. And I saw that at Product Earth. I saw these little groups of people who you wouldn't usually see together, almost like one guy in a suit and one dude in a tracksuit, and you're seeing them and they are partners. They are working together. And I'm starting to see that, which I've never seen at any other expo before.
Well, the reason I was there is because of Professor Lumiere, and the Lumiere brand is actually, it grows its cannabis in Jamaica, and it uses those legacy growers to do it, and it's got EU GMP certification. So that Jamaican cannabis is going to arrive in the UK in the near future. Can't tell you when it's going to be because that would be breaking MHRA regulation, but it's all about sustainability. Like most medical cannabis companies, you can't say anything. But what we're doing with Lumiere is we're talking about the sustainability of cannabis. How are you growing it? What are you doing for the environment? How are you treating people that have been actually pretty kind of trodden down by the whole judicial system around cannabis? And that applies in Jamaica as much as anywhere else. And that expertise that you're talking about, that original kind of legacy grower, that kind of information and knowledge that they have developed over such a long time, that needs to be integrated in, because that is the way that you drive this forward. You can give me as many PhDs as you want, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, there are companies in Jamaica that have lots of PhD people there that grow cannabis that hasn't actually worked, and that's why it's not arrived in the UK. Here's a company, and this
I
is
know
why
a lot of companies in the UK as well who are making the same stupid decision. And there's only so many times you can say to them, well, who's your cannabis expert? Oh, well, we have this dude. He's a botanist. He's just graduated from Oxford. He's like he redesigned a way of growing the tomato. I was like, amazing. What the fuck do you know about weed? All right. And they're like, no, I'm not even going to waste my time on you because you're investing $100 million into some dude who doesn't know what he's doing. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't be your head. Make him the head of the department, but get him to hire 10 people who have had the experience, build a team of people who actually understand how to grow cannabis, who understand genetics, who understand how to identify the right genetics. And I feel like there is a massive trick being missed by every businessman out there trying to partner up with people who are actually uneducated. You're partnering up with the cannabis expert who's in a suit. No cannabis expert will ever wear a suit. All right. No self-respecting cannabis expert would ever wear a suit to a meeting. Telling you, you'll never meet one. You'll never meet one. Why? Because the whole idea is most cannabis experts have been cannabis experts through their anti-establishment logic. And they're not going to be a suit wearer if they've got this anti-establishment logic. But these are logical, normal things to pay attention to, which the greater world of money is not paying attention to. I'm very fortunate that, I actually do get a little bit of respect and people do listen to my voice. But I still know there are loads of people out there who are respected a hell of a lot more than me in this space, who have got no experience compared to me. The same with you, Tim. I know that there are loads of suit wearers who get their voices heard more than yours, but in reality, they haven't lived an eighth of the life you've lived. And that makes me feel worried. But like I'm saying, the industry is showing its hand and the industry is showing its strength at Product Earth. And the industry is showing that it can present itself in a respectful, logical, educating manner. I mean, if that is not a sign of we're already ready. I mean, like the people have spoken, the people are ready, and the people are right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else we can do. Do you know what I mean? I'm really excited for Product Earth next year, though.
Well, absolutely. And I think that one of the really important things is that realistically, there's probably 2 years till the next election. And the next election, that will be a game changer. By then, Germany will have a regulated adult
fully
access
recreational market,
Absolutely.
billions of dollars a year.
Well, you've got Switzerland, you've got Italy, you've got France. I mean, all of the Schengen countries that surround Germany.
France has gone on another level, considering CBD was illegal in France about 4 years ago, and now you can buy HHC over the counter in a pharmacy. HHC is a synthetic THC, which you can now buy, and it's like synthesized from CBD, so it's a natural synthetic. You can buy it in over the counter in pharmacies in France. It's mental. Like France has blown up. It's almost like there is only one illegal cannabinoid in France, which is THC. Everything else is fair game. THCA, THCV, CBN, CBC, everything's fair game. HHC, Delta 8, it's all fair game. Flowers, it's all fair game. It's crazy. Like France is on another level. They are playing catch up. They have got their foot to the floor and they are just letting it run. And I'm saying, after seeing what happened in Product Earth, if we get a little bit of, there's just a little bit of give, I mean, the floodgates are going to open and it is going to be epic, because there was professionalism. And I think that's the main thing. I really wanted to be able to criticize their service. You know me, I love critiquing people. I love ripping people to shreds. And I really wanted to be able to turn around and say it was unprofessional. It was ridiculous. People were so professional. And I was walking up to people like, I'm not paying your prices. They're too expensive. Like, well, what would you pay? I was like, really? I could haggle with you? I can haggle? It was amazing. It was a great experience. Tim, thank you for joining me for the last 40 minutes. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the little interruption with the Queen. To everyone else who's watched us, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Cut. Oh, we're still going. Maybe we're